Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. This is Jason Harris from Panoply. We're going to start the webinar in about 2 minutes. We're just going to give people a minute or two to sign in. Appreciate everyone signing in on time who is here, and we will get started in just a second. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Good morning and good afternoon, depending on where you are located. You have signed on for the Panoply Winning with Data Roundtable. We're very excited to have you. We have some awesome panelists that have joined us to share their story with data and talk today about how data drives decisions in their organizations and in their companies. We're very stoked to have everyone here, so let's go ahead and get started. A few housekeeping items for today's webinar. We would like you to ask questions at any time. Normally with Panoply webinars, we take questions at the end, but this one's a little different. What we have done today is we've assembled a panel, and we don't have a lot of prepared materials, but what we do have is we have three panelists who are very smart and very dedicated to data, and they're going to share how they've come along with their data programs, and we're super excited. So please ask questions at any time. We have 5 pre-prepared questions, but if you have questions that you would like to pose to the panel or things that you would like to say, go ahead and use GoToWebinar's chat. There is a questions tab there, so go ahead and pose them and I will give them to the panel in line. Also, today's panel is very interactive. There is a quick survey that we have prepared. You can see the bit.ly link there. It's bit.ly/data roundtable. Go ahead and click that and you can join in the conversation. We want this to be as interactive as possible. One thing we're going to do is we are going to take the survey data that we collect, because we're super excited to have everyone here today. We're going to take all that survey data and we're going to analyze it and give it back to you as part of the follow-up. As a part of the follow-up for this webinar, you will not only have the recording, but you will have the questions and answers that everyone has done, because we're very interested to see kind of where you are in your career, where you are at with your data journey, and all that. So go ahead and choose that or click that roundtable. It's a quick, like, 2-minute survey. And if you are having issues accessing that link, or you need to have it more spelled out, in the handouts section on GoToWebinar right now, I have put a PDF of the presentation today. Go ahead, you can click the link there as well. So let's introduce our panel. My name is Jason Harris. I'm an evangelist here at Panoply. My job is to manage our communications, our marketing and communications platforms. I manage all of our social media. I manage our data exploration, and I also handle customer voice. So that means I have had the opportunity to interview Danielle, Nissim, and Adam, and you can find all of blog posts and all of those things on our blog, and we get an opportunity to have them speak, which is awesome, because we don't like to speak a lot about Panoply in terms of, when we talk about Panoply, we'd rather tell the story of what people are doing with our platform rather than talk about our platform itself. So we're super excited to have Danielle, Nissim, and Adam here. So Danielle, would you like to kick things off by introducing yourself and how long you've been at Saucey and kind of your role there, and other roles you've had, and how data informs what you do?
Sure. Can you hear me? All right.
Yes.
Great. So my name is Danielle Silveira. I'm the Director of Growth at Saucey. Saucey is an alcohol delivery service. We operate in 6 markets currently with 30-minute delivery and then nationwide with shipping. Prior to being the Director of Growth at Saucey, I started out as an email marketing analyst. I have a background in data, biology, really like a different background. From being a marketing analyst, I started doing paid social, affiliate marketing. I eventually did traffic acquisition for a wine company, an online wine company called Wink. And then from there, having experience in the alcohol industry, I actually moved over to Saucey, where I am the director of growth, which means I essentially grow not only our customer base, which is users for the platform, but I also grow revenue for the business. So I manage a team that does ad sales to companies like Budweiser and Tito's and alcohol brands you've obviously heard of and probably tried a couple times, to revenue growth for the business just by doing marketing experiments on pricing or on changing up some retail stuff or doing conversion optimization, all the way down to CRM stuff, doing experiments with customer messaging and customer segmentation.
Awesome, thank you. And Mr. Nissim, can you introduce yourself and your role at GoDaddy?
Sure. So I'm Nissim Leyhani, and I'm Senior Director of Product Management at GoDaddy, where I'm leading the team that builds products about digital marketing. So essentially, we're building a portfolio of products that help small, medium businesses to grow and promote their products online. And that encompasses SEO, social media, making sure that these businesses appear on the right places on the web, as well as analytics. And I'm just a product person that is really passionate about building products that are providing value to customers. And I found data to be a very good way to measure that value and embrace that while building products. Previously, I was an engineering manager at Cisco Systems and founded my own company that was acquired later on, and also serving on the board of Urban Place, a co-working space company. And I just found data to be very challenging, regardless of whether you're in a very small startup or in a big organization.
Fantastic, thank you. And Adam, can you talk about yourself and Matilda Jane and what informed you as a data-driven pro?
Sure. Adam Beltz. I'm the Senior Manager of Information Architecture here at Matilda Jane Clothing. And Matilda Jane is a small boutique-style clothing company, primarily serving girls and women. And we are direct sales, so that means we have approximately 1,800 different sales reps, and we sell our product directly to them. So my role here is to make sure that not only we understand our customers, but also our sales consultants. So primarily my role handles data in, data out, making sure everything is accurate, as well as all of our systems talk to each other. So at a small company like ours, I'm the primary liaison between all business and all data. So I make sure that everything is on the up and up and that there are no problems. Before this, I was actually the very first IT employee at this small company, but before that, I worked at a Fortune company handling metadata management on the BI team and various roles like data analyst, business analyst. Before that, I ran an IT department. So I've served multiple different roles from an IT perspective as well as from the data perspective.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, let's get into the meat of the webinar. Just in case you are not familiar, let's talk about Panoply for a second. Panoply is a smart data warehouse. We take data in from multiple data sources, up to 150. It doesn't matter if it is a data source such as a traditional database such as Postgres, or a web app such as Facebook Ads or NetSuite, or we have many data sources that we bring in, and we are a layer between your data and your BI tool. So we make business intelligence really fast. So it doesn't matter if you're using Chartio, Tableau, or Looker. We make all those tools very, very fast by continually optimizing your data warehouse and your database. We have seamless data ingestion through our automated ELT process. So you basically put in your credentials, the data flows in, you're able to run SQL either through our workbench or through your tool of choice, and we are constantly optimizing queries. That's where the speed comes in. We're using our AI and NLP to, sorry, artificial intelligence and natural language processing to augment the queries and make sure that they are running quickly. We're super easy to set up. A lot of folks say that we are from either 2 minutes or 10 minutes. They're able to connect their data and go from raw data to analytics in 10 minutes. We, again, have performance built in. So no matter if you're using Tableau, Looker, Power BI in Adam's case, we integrate with all of them to make sure that your performance is lightning fast and that you can go from data to insights in a matter of minutes. So that's just a little intro to Panoply. If you're interested in a demo, in that survey that I shared at the top, so bit.ly/data roundtable, if you're interested in learning more about Panoply, go ahead and fill out. There's a form on there about how to get a demo. There's a little special offer for people who are doing the webinar, but I will end the sales pitch there. I just wanted to give people a little tip about what Panoply is. So let's get to the panel. So question number one, everyone touched on this a little bit, but we'd love to hear more about right now at your company, how is data and analytics informing what you do on a daily basis? So let's start with Danielle. Tell us a little bit about Saucey. We know it's an alcohol delivery business, so that means when I hear that, I hear logistics, I hear marketing, I hear a lot of avenues where data informs everything you guys do. But could you tell us a little bit from the data perspective how it informs everything that goes on at Saucey?
Yeah, of course. So as you mentioned, our business is entirely kind of surrounding logistics and marketing. So we're building up a user base, or I'm building up a user base with my team that uses Saucey to courier alcohol to them. And so our operations team heavily relies on data to track not only the couriers we work with, but everything from the thousands and thousands. We have I think we have 10,000 products in our database that we are selling at each of our different retailers. So our customers really have a ton of options when they go onto the Saucey platform, whether it's something as simple as Jack Daniel's or something as rare as Pappy Van Winkle, which is a super expensive bourbon that you can get almost nowhere. You can usually find stuff like that on Saucey. We use data to inform all of our decisions on the operations side on a daily basis. We're constantly going through, even minute by minute, like how long a delivery is taking. We're operating in 6 cities on demand, so we're doing 30-minute deliveries all day in those 6 markets. So they're constantly looking at delivery times, optimizing routes for couriers, that kind of stuff. On the marketing side, we're really using data to inform decisions on not only marketing spend, how we allocate our marketing budget to each different paid channel, but we also use the data we acquire to really understand how customers are using our platform. So building out really personalized customer journeys for people depending on if they're interested in wine, beer, or spirits. Really understanding their cadence and their frequency of using Saucey. So we have customers that use us on a weekly basis. We have customers that use us on a monthly basis. We have customers that use us on a once a year for that one big party kind of thing. So we really want to understand each individual customer journey and really target them with not only retargeting ads that get them to come back to our platform, but also more and more personalized messages that really help them understand what we have to offer them and give them some choices. So if you're a wine person, giving you not only wines that you've purchased in the past, but starting to upsell you on wines that you may like based on your previous purchase history. The same thing with beer, liquor, spirits. As new, obviously seasonal items come online. Like right now it's Oktoberfest and pumpkin beers and all that kind of stuff. Really feeding that to people so that they can start changing their purchasing behavior and maybe trying out some new things. So that's really how we use data at this company. It's almost like a daily thing. The first thing I do in the morning is open up Looker, which is how we visualize our data, and check the day's previous stats on delivery times, sales, orders, everything, even top products.
Fantastic. Nissim?
So at GoDaddy, we are serving 18 million customers around the world, and most of them are small medium businesses, people with ideas that want to carry them on and make a dent in the world and build a successful business. So we really, you can guess from the magnitude of the audience size, we really see a lot of different personas. And one usage of the data is really to define these personas and to understand how many people have, just an idea and they haven't done anything with that. How many people have started and how they're doing. How many people are successful and how we can bring them all success. So one way we look at data is really about segmenting the audience, but data is really touching every single aspect of what we do at GoDaddy. So product managers, folks at marketing, and even customer representatives are dealing with data every day. So we use that in a lot of things. Where when we do product brainstorming sessions, should we do this or should we do that? It's really as we speak and we raise an idea, someone is running a query, and the next minute says, you know what, that audience size is actually too small, and maybe we have a better opportunity to address a bigger and larger audience with the other feature. So it's really, I would say we almost have discussions with data. So it's part of it's really embedded in the way we work and ideate products. Of course, after we ship them, then make sure the experience is good. So sometimes we even course correct during the same day. Sometimes following the first few hours of shipping something new, we spot something and then we fix that. And it allows us also to spot opportunities from the current user base. So for instance, we have an online store product, and we have seen that some verticals, some businesses in certain categories are building stores where you wouldn't expect that from them. For instance, gardeners or consultants who are not really shipping product to customers. And then we saw there was just hacking the store product to sell services. So whenever they wanted to sell a gardening session, a consulting session, then they will have the customer go into the online store and check out as if they were buying a product. So we spotted that, identified that, and we built services and appointment booking solution based on that. And it's going extremely well. And one of the reasons is that we already had the audience using our products to achieve a different objective than we had in mind. So we provided them with a better experience. We identified that with data. So to summarize, really all around the place, both from starting from brainstorming ideation to shipping to spotting new opportunities.
Perfect. Sounds like a common thread so far is definitely using data to know your customer, and then knowing which products or services or types of drinks that they would like. So I'm curious to know, Adam, do you have a similar story? Like, tell us about how data informs everything at Matilda Jane.
Yeah, actually ours is similar, but we have a bit of a wrinkle in it, and that is because we sell primarily through our consultants. So what we're focused on in a lot of cases is helping our consultants, all 1,800 of them. And remember, they're not employees of Matilda Jane. They are basically just selling on our behalf. So they earn commission on how well they do each month. So what we're focused on is helping them understand their customers. So in a lot of cases, a customer comes to Matilda Jane through what we call a trunk keeper or a consultant. Sometimes those consultants leave. Sometimes they stay for 7+ years. But what we're also focused on is how do we retain those customers? What were those interactions like that they had with their sales reps to make sure that they had a positive experience? So we take a little bit of a different angle at understanding things. And then what I'm challenged with doing is making sure that data is consumable in a format that gets out to the consultant's hands. A lot of the other areas that we work with are storytelling. So we have a lot of passionate customers and a lot of passionate sales reps. So the messaging that they bring back to us sometimes conflicts with what the data is showing us, So a lot of times we're working through, what does that story tell us? What somebody's feeling, or their emotions at the time when they send a help desk ticket, or maybe a phone call with one of the field members. You know, how does that relate to what we're seeing with information in our data warehouse? So we see a lot of that, and obviously we ship from our building here, so we focus a lot on operations, a lot on customer care. And then aside from the customer segmentation, as the other panelists have mentioned as well, we do that as well. But I think what we're also focused on as well is we're a relatively small organization. And in the retail space where things are very simple, like I shouldn't say always very simple, but you know, green dress, blue pants, stuff like that. We have really complex patterns. If those of you aren't familiar with our brand, it's very colorful. So we are focused on different kinds of basket analysis and areas for that for marketing as well.
I'm curious about that as an add-on question. This isn't on the slides, but you know, I think the best part about this panel is that we can go off the slides and still talk about that. Nissim, Danielle, can you talk about how you analyze, like, actually, Adam, can you expand upon that shopping basket? I'm curious to know, like, how you use data to help fuel sales. You said letting consultants know, you know, what was sold, but curious to know in terms of online sales, how you handle that, and like tell us about the buyer's journey, and then on the back end, what's the data journey like on the back end? So Adam, could you lead off, and then we'll have Nissim and then Danielle chime in.
Yeah, we have a team here in our merchandising team that will help us understand, you know, from a high level, this is the product that pairs well. It's very similar to what other people do. And then what we're trying to do is that customer, look at what their spending patterns are, what did they cart or not cart from an online perspective, but as well as if they talk to a sales rep or not, trying to see if that sales rep made a difference in what that person decided to buy. And what we're doing on the background is we're capturing that information, and sometimes we may send like a follow-up email to say, you know, no different than what other people would do, but you know, you may be interested in this or that, really diving deeper into you know, cart recovery, as well as then feeding information in a more guided way back to the sales rep, helping them convert that sale in a different sort of way. And making it, again, like I say, consumable. And consumable could be as many as things as simple as, hey, make sure you remind them of this month's promotion, or it could be as complex as here's a base script that, you know, may help you convert sales. So we're doing things like that from the online side, as well as from what the customers are doing through their consultants.
Perfect. Nissim, do you have any tales or tips about using data to inform a purchase on the consumer side?
GoDaddy as a system serves really a lot of customers, and we're serving them through different ways. One is that there's a do-it-yourself part on the website, but we also have about 5,000 customer representatives that are assisting the customers and really make sure that they are able to find the right solution for their business. And when we deal with this order of magnitude, the data is really an essential part of the journey there. So the thing that let's say that I can find relevant for this discussion is that we have found a lot of value in building a system that really makes it extremely easy to personalize the experience. So you can approach personalization in almost two ways. One is like there's going to be a team that's going to decide who sees what, and some aspect of that exists as well. But I think the great value of the platform we have built is that we actually have a platform that allows almost anyone to say, oh, I think that this segment should see this message or this offer. And that way we really are able to personalize the experience, but also to almost crowdsource that personalization aspect, because like there's a lot of ideas in the brains of the thousands of employees that we have at GoDaddy, and we really wanted to give them away. So the experience is pretty lean. It's like you say, I want people that are in arts and design, whenever they have a domain and have activated it and have a website, to see this offer. And you can, we have around a few hundred data signals that allow us to personalize the message and provide really match and pair the right products for the right person. So if you think about it, instead of having several dozens of avenues, we have built tens of thousands of them. So you have like very small audiences that see a specific message, but they are very effective. One way to increase the ratio is to grow the numerator, but the other way is to decrease the denominator. So having a lot of messages addressing fewer audiences plays well in the long term.
Perfect. Danielle, did you have anything more to share on the subject of segmentation and data fueling your knowledge of a customer and his or her next purchase?
Yeah, we actually do a ton of customer segmentation depending on people's first purchase. We really try to zero in on what they're interested in from that first purchase and when they're interested in buying. Alcohol is something that, you know, obviously people have a very distinct purchasing behavior and distinct interest in. So we take whatever you purchased in your first order and we really try to build a customer profile off of that. And then every subsequent order, we just add to that customer profile, including when you're purchasing. So if you're a Tuesday night 6-pack of beer kind of person versus a Friday night Tito's and limes kind of person, we're really taking all that into account when we're messaging you.
Perfect. Actually, we have a question that came in from Mike Kennedy, one of the viewers, and he asks, what approach and tools do you recommend to assimilate customer data from offline? And he uses the examples of ERP, CRM, and point of sale, and online, social, mobile, etc., and create a segmented profile. Does anyone have an answer for Mike?
At GoDaddy, we have integrated with the Square point of sale, and we found it to be extremely useful to have that ability to bridge online and offline, especially for giving that ability to our customers. So if you're selling online and you have a physical point of presence, then you know, all your inventory is synced, and you can see the data from your online and offline sales. We have found that it suddenly allows new experiences such as pick up in store, so you can order on the website but pick it in a store, so that allows that as well. So it's really a bidirectional, both data that flows both sides and behavior and features that are enabled. So on our end, the answer will be integrating with Square.
Interesting. That's awesome. I've heard Square, and I've also heard Stripe in terms of when I have asked people about how they know the purchasing patterns of their customers. In terms of tools and approaches to assimilate customer data, Danielle or Adam, do you have any other perspectives to lend? Okay.
No.
I can.
Okay. Oh, Adam, go ahead, please.
Sure. We have a similar challenge with that. Being our systems are all very disparate, which makes it sound like terrible infrastructure, which I have to take that upon myself. But one thing that we've come up with is actually that's kind of one of the reasons why we use Panoply. So I'm taking multiple sources of information and what someone would say multiple sources of the same truth. And then I'm loading that into Panoply and creating views inside of it to help me build out what the customer in my head should be. And we run into similar challenges where, you know, Adam Beltz may be coming from multiple sources or many different places. And we have to make decisions on, is this the same person or not, just based on the number of channels and who's entering information and whether it's that person themselves or somebody on their behalf. So I do that right inside of Panoply myself, and then create views so that we can assume that it's the same person just based on our infrastructure.
Perfect. Okay, let's move on to question 2. So let's talk about more macro trends. My question to each of the panelists, what trends are you seeing around data and analytics? Whether it's something you learned at a conference, whether it's something you've been practicing yourself that's new that you read or heard from a colleague, we're interested in hearing things about what the latest and greatest is. So let's start with Adam. Could you talk about new trends, new things you're seeing?
Sure. My journey with data started probably 8 or 9 years ago, and everybody was using like enterprise grade tools. You know, there wasn't the Tableaus and things of the world out just yet, or readily available to people at big enterprises. So one of the things that is still blowing my mind is the availability of so many tools that easily slice and dice your data in ways that people that are pretty proficient at Excel can achieve. But what I'm also seeing with that is people think that just because the tool exists means the data is in the right format to be consumed by those tools. So that's one of the things that I'm seeing as a really great thing, because data in more people's hands that are qualified is a great thing because it enables them to make decisions. And I don't think anybody would deny that. But the wrong data in the right hands is also extremely scary. So I'm seeing actually a greater need for some sort of semblance of data governance, but at a level that is manageable by people. So that's probably not a popular view on the world, but maybe that's just me being a pessimist.
I like pessimism. Danielle, what have you seen that's new? And what's the coolest data related thing you've seen this year or thing you've learned?
I don't know if it's necessarily new, but I think I've seen an increased interest earlier on with companies for hiring for a data position rather than later. It's not as much of like an afterthought. Obviously, with marketing, data is super important. It's just like monitoring spend and all that. But I think hiring someone to really look at, like in our business, you know, the data surrounding product and purchasing behavior and all that stuff, and really kind of mining that for insights that we can either sell to advertisers on our platform or, you know, different, you know, companies. I think people taking it more seriously earlier on in hiring for that team is something nice to see at even earlier stage companies.
Awesome. Nissim?
So I would say, in trying to add on the great things that Adam and Danielle said earlier, the application of data on domains that were previously perceived as, you know, almost not related to the data space, for me is extremely interesting. So there's, when you think about it, there's data is really more accessible to anyone. So cloud computing and SaaS services really got the data computation and storage cheaper in the last decade. And there's almost like no excuse to start storing data so that's one part, but also consumers start experiencing more interaction with the data. So you can go on Google or ask Google Assistant how many people live in that country, what's the GDP, and you will get the exact answer, not just a web link. That's really changing the way people interact with data. One of these examples is there's a medication tracking app named MediSafe. And what they essentially do is that they help people and their family making sure that they take their medication on time. And they have millions of users. It's a great, beautiful product. And by looking at the data, they spotted that some users take a combination of certain medications. That's both separately medication are fine, but combined, they have side effects that can be dangerous for the patient. So they were really wondering whether they should do that. There's a legal aspect for it, but then they decided to build a feature that warns these people and say, hey, you might want to go to the doctor because like medication A and medication B together might have a bad side effect on you. And when they identify these dangerous drug interaction, then they proactively warn the users. And they got countless stories of people who got a warning, went to their doctors and received the adequate treatment, while the doctor was saying like, good for you, because you might not be here in a month if you didn't got that warning. So they literally use data to save lives, and I find it extremely cool.
That's very cool. Let's move on to how data and analytics let's talk about the data and analytics programs at your company. Let's talk about, and what I'm curious about is what types of needs and questions do your data consumers have? Who are your data consumers in your company? You know, whether it's logistics, HR, marketing. We've touched on this a little bit, but I'm curious to have you expand on this answer, each of the panelists, to tell like what, and also can you tell us what data stack you use? So like, what are you using for business intelligence? What are you using alongside Panoply to help inform the data? So give us a snapshot of who your data, what your data is like, what data are you bringing in, who the consumers of that data are, who you serve within your company, and then what tools are you using to serve those needs. So let's start with Nissim.
Sure. So we have, in terms of the data stack, we have, it's really a mix of several systems. I guess it's not going to be just for GoDaddy, because based on my experience, a lot of organizations, small or big, have really a mix of several systems combined together that provide a data stack. So we have, of course, some proprietary data places and storage. Just to give a sense, GoDaddy is selling historically domains, even though we have expanded our product portfolio to selling presence building and business applications. But we still have sold a lot of domains, and the DNS that comes with that. A third of the DNS queries on the planet go through GoDaddy data architecture. So there's really a large amount of data that needs to be handled, and we have proprietary systems that are built to handle that. In terms of how we look at I would say the business aspect of the data, we have Panoply, of course, and we use Chart.io to visualize the data there. We also use tools like Mixpanel that allow us to track in a very granular way the product behavior, as well as Google Analytics and Tableau. Panoply is really the tissue that stitches all that together. And in terms of who's using the data, it's really, I mean, we have really varied use cases. So of course, product teams are building products in the data-driven way, and we make sure that the right measurement is in place in order to provide the best experience for the customers. But one great application of self-serve data is that people can self-serve without your help. And one story that I have on that is that UX people were actually able to source better prospects for their UX research using data. So when they were approaching a new approach to a certain feature, they were actually able, within few clicks, to get a list of the customers that have used that feature in the past 10 days. That's really changing everything for them, because instead of hunting until they find the right customer, they actually can really send a targeted message to a very small audience that is extremely relevant for their work. So the really usage of data is on all functions: product, PM, marketing, UX, and customer service.
Perfect. Danielle, can you tell us a little bit about the data stack and consumers of data within Saucey?
Yeah. So in terms of the consumers that use Saucey, or the consumers that use data within Saucey, honestly, it's pretty much the entire company. We have a super, super small team. I think probably like 20 people right now. And everyone from our operations coordinator to our CEO is using data to inform decisions. So almost everything we need is in our database. We visualize it through Looker, which is our BI tool. And in terms of what do they do with it, honestly, it's making every single decision. So whether it's optimizing the number of couriers we have in a specific area inside the city, or how much more money to deploy in a certain market to increase customer acquisition, that's really how we're using that data. And the critical customers are honestly everyone on the market team, everyone on the operations team, because we are making real-time decisions that affect deliveries today, order volume today. It's a very sort of constant need to have accurate and up-to-date data for us so that we can make those decisions and affect purchases in real time.
Amazing, thank you. Adam.
Sure. Our data stack, we obviously use Panoply. I was able to get rid of a data pipeline tool because Panoply actually ingested all my sources, which was pretty cool. I use a little bit of an ETL / data modification tool called EasyMorphs, and it's made my life different for the better because I can do just so many different things with it. And then we use Power BI for data visualization. And Power BI is given to basically everyone in our organization. The consumers of our data are, we have finance, obviously, and sales. And we focus, a lot on metrics and things that are fairly don't change a whole lot as far as what we're looking for. But what marketing is something that most interesting in consumer data because they're constantly changing what they're trying to see. And they also bring in the more new sources than I can keep up with sometimes, which is great because we rely so heavily on our sales force to produce that we're constantly looking at ways of helping them through marketing initiatives or really any way of incentivizing them to do better. So our focus is really around helping them do well, and through marketing, we're doing the best we can to come up with those types of decisions and help them exceed.
Great, thank you. Hey Adam, just as a note, you're cutting out quite a bit, so maybe you could reconnect. I'll ask you the next question last, so maybe you can reconnect by dialing in. Your VoIP is cutting out. Just want to let you know. Next question is, how did you choose Panoply? So I'm curious to know, we talked about the stacks, we talked about some of the data needs. Curious to know what decisions led to the need for data warehouse, and then what decision factors led you to Panoply? So let's start with Danielle, please. Danielle, I think you might be muted.
Sorry,
yes,
can you hear me?
Yes,
I was on mute because there's construction around me.
No worries.
Honestly, we, again, have an extremely lean team at Saucey. Our engineering team is 3 developers, so we really, really needed a solution that would allow us to scale our data without necessarily increasing the headcount of our team. And Panoply obviously helped a lot with that. It just decreased the time it took to query our database.
Excellent. So small team, big data needs, and needing something to get up to speed quickly without having to talk to a dedicated data engineer. Is that a fair assessment? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but kind of.
No, that's exactly what it is. Yep. Okay,
thank you so much. Nissim, how did you choose Panoply as your data warehouse of choice?
So we understood that we have a distributed data environment, and that we really wanted to bring all of that together, and that will allow us to look at the data sets in one place. and also really look closely at the intersections of these data sets. So we thought about, building it, and then we understood that it comes with a lot of headache we didn't want to deal with. So we wanted to move fast, and we decided to pick an existing solution. And we're looking at several solutions, and they all have really different approaches. So there's solutions that just tell you, let me know where the data is, and let me know where should I push that. But then that also means that you need to deal with hosting the data and optimizing tables, a lot of things we really didn't want to do. And when we looked at Panoply, we saw that there's a solution that has a holistic handling of the data, where you can just point at where the data exists, and they make sure that it goes through, they handle the data pipeline, they handle the place that stores the data. Whenever the tables need to be optimized, then it's getting taken care automatically. They have a fantastic support team that we literally see as an extension of our data team. Yeah, the visualization part was already figured out because we're already using Chart.io, and Chart.io connects to Panoply natively. So it was a pretty simple choice for us.
Perfect, thank you. Adam, I know that Matilda Jane from our conversations, I know that you guys are a Microsoft shop. So I'm curious to know how Panoply integrates with that and enhances what you're doing on the data side.
Sure. Can you hear me better now?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, we are a Microsoft shop. We have Microsoft Dynamics AX 365, one of the few, I think, still around. We were looking at using Microsoft solution, which is based on Azure, and it proved to be really costly. And I wanted to make sure that we were not just jumping into that because we were a Microsoft shop. So I started looking at Panoply, did the trial, and the team actually helped me set up the Azure connection right away, I think the first day. And I was able to get our data really instantly. And then what I started doing was just really kicking the tires and saying, okay, what else can I connect? Is there anything I can't connect? And the answer for me was no, everything was able to be connected. So for us, we needed to choose a data warehouse that was going to be scalable. We're a fast-growing company, so I knew that the data needs were going to be intense. We needed performance, and also just like the other folks on the panel, I didn't want to have to maintain anything. I'm not a full-time DBA. I don't really want to analyze explain plans or anything like that. So it was really a no-brainer for us once we got through our trial. I felt like this was the tool. And so far, the other area that has been really impressive for me was the support. I've asked questions in the middle of the night. I've asked questions early morning. I've asked questions midday. And usually I get really thoughtful responses back, if not solutions, or, hey, Adam, just think of this in a different way. And so far, that has been really huge for us.
Excellent, thank you. I'll relay that back to our data architect team. Another thing I heard, one thing that was really cool is as a marketer and as a data person myself, this intrigued me. Justin Mulvaney at Spacious, another customer of ours, he said he likes us because we do CSV imports. So if there is a thing that they try to do on the marketing side, whether it's an experiment or a new messaging platform or something, and they can't quite connect it to Panoply because we may not have a data connector for some new upstart platform, we always have the ability to import CSVs. So a person that is running an experiment can then bring the data into Panoply and then analyze it alongside, whether it's maybe it's an SMS thing or a new chatbot or whatever. They can always experiment with that. So I thought that was kind of cool. We actually have a follow-up question from Mike directed at Mike Kennedy, one of our viewers. We directed at Nissim. Follow-up question for Nissim: do you use Square to help identify new prospective customers?
Our usage of Square is really on the second level. So if you think there's GoDaddy, there's the customers, and there's the customers. So we use Square to make the life easier for our customers that are businesses when they deal with their customers, so they can know what's the behavior of customers both online and offline. So yeah, to clarify, we're not using Square as like a point of sale for GoDaddy itself.
Okay, perfect. Last question. Now that you have this data stack, this empowered data platform, what has been an aha moment that you or your team have had, whether it's a game changer in how you know your customers, a game changer in how you conduct business? What's your first aha moment that you had? And let's start with Miss Danielle, please.
Honestly, our first aha moment was really understanding the level of difference between our customers. We really do have some customers that have a very, very specific cadence of once every Thursday, and it's always the same bottle of wine, versus other customers who are just really sporadic. It's literally if we ever send out a push to them, or if they interact with us in some way, if we send out a door hanger campaign to their neighborhood, they might remember us. Just understanding the differences between customers and their engagement levels and their purchase behavior, and not treating our customers like they're all sort of the same kind of giant block of people, but really just like little pockets of different kinds of people, and really starting to segment them and tailor our messaging to them in a very personalized way.
Excellent. Adam?
Yeah, for us, I had, and I shared this when I was on my trial, I had a handful of reports and queries that I would kick off like the day before, and I would come in the morning and the results would be there, and I would realize that maybe something was wrong, or we shouldn't have done it that way, or things like that, and then I would basically lose a day of data. The biggest thing for us was just the speed at which things were coming back. I mean, it really changed the way we were doing marketing, especially a small company, where we need to make decisions very quickly and react to customer response or anything like that of that nature. Being able to get response and results back and ask new questions to follow up with those existing questions has just been huge for us.
Perfect. Nissim?
So in terms of aha moments, I think that the biggest feature that Panoply enables is really looking at intersection of data sets that were usually stored separately, and then suddenly you can look at connections and correlations between these two. So for us, it will be how the usage of a certain feature correlates with, for instance, the satisfaction of the customer, which is measured by a lot of means. One of them is the Net Promoter Score. So like Net Promoter Score is stored in one system, the usage of feature in another. Panoply brings all that together, and then suddenly you can ask questions such as, show me what my happiest clients are using in terms of products and features. And these are the kind of questions that are more difficult to ask when these data sets are isolated. And the other aha moment was when we really realized that Panoply allows us to store the data in such a way that will allow us to answer that without knowing the questions first. So usually you have a certain set of questions in mind, and data might be optimized to answer these questions, but then comes another question, and you uncover that the data was imported in such a way that it doesn't allow you to answer that. Where Panoply approach is really about get the raw data first in Panoply and then transform it in the system. So that allows you to really transform it later on without needing to re-importing all the data. We found it to be extremely valuable because you have kind of the advantages, like you have the data, but you can always modify it later on with surfacing a new aspect of it that you didn't thought of before without needing to re-import all your data, which can be a massive operation. So that allows us really to understand that we need to actually bring all the data we have there, and then later on, somebody will find a usage for it, will transform it in a different way, and that will enable a new breadth of questions that we're not able to answer before.
Excellent, thank you. And that actually brings up another question I'd like to run by each of you on the panel is, we talked about the data stack, we talked about your BI tool of choice, and who is using the data, I'm curious, what methods or tips do you have for letting people easily consume data? How are you presenting it to people? I'm curious to know if you're using like automated looker reports that go into a Slack channel, or if you're using email. Like how do folks in your organization consume the data? And Adam, can we start with you?
Sure. We created a handful of data models based on what teams were going to be consuming the data within Power BI, and that is based upon the connection right into Panoply. So that has been a way for them to get data that is very structured that they can make sense of. And then as soon as that needs to change, we post that. Again, we're a Microsoft shop, so those live as a template on SharePoint. So as soon as the data model updates, they're going to see those updates right in their Power BI template.
Excellent. How about within GoDaddy, Nissim? How are folks consuming data?
So we generally have self-serve access, but we also found really useful to have an awareness, to raise the awareness of the fact that the data exists. So what we did was just putting a TV in the corridor with a bunch of numbers that we're updating, and that just trigger the fact for everybody that goes through when they go to lunch that they say, oh, the data is there, so I can actually ask questions based on that. So, and that's a trick I really applied both in GoDaddy, which is a large organization, and in startups that I founded, and I found that to be extremely useful. It gives an almost unsolicited direct connection between the people who are building the product and how the customers are using it.
Perfect. Danielle, how are your consumers consuming data?
Yeah, so each piece of the business, whether it's our ops team, our marketing team, or our customer experience team, we each have dashboards that the heads of those teams have built out to address key KPIs that we're tracking on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. So whether it's gross sales or delivery times or top products that are being sold, or which items are being consistently sold out at which retailers or what have you. All of those dashboards are sort of built out and either displayed up all over the office, as been saying, on computer or on TVs, so that we can look at it in real time to see, if a certain area that we're delivering to is, experiencing high delivery times, or having a spike in orders, or if a certain campaign is really taking off on the marketing side and we're getting a ton of new registrations from that campaign. We just have a bunch of dashboards that we've built out to track everything.
Perfect. Thank you. So we had time now to dedicate to live Q&A, and we are almost out of time, but we wanted to give everyone, if you have a last minute question, go ahead and pose it in the GoToWebinar, and I will summarize by saying thank you to the panel. And also we have we do have a survey at the top of this deck. So it's bit.ly/data roundtable. If you would like to go and fill that out, I'm curious to know what your level of expertise is, what data stack you're using. We're going to take all this information and create a survey, and we'll summarize it and send an analysis back as a part of the follow-up to this webinar. We invite anyone to go ahead and fill that out. If someone is not on this webinar you'd like to share it, we'd like to use it kind of as a data analyst or a business analyst snapshot of like where people are at in their career and what questions they have. And if you'd like a demo of Panoply in there, there's a little special offer, and that's all I'll say about that if you want to go check it out. I am seeing no further questions in our Q&A section of GoToWebinar, so I am going to say thank you to our panel. Again, thank you so much to Danielle, Nissim, and Adam. If you're curious about how they are using data and their data stack, both Saucey and GoDaddy, and soon to be Matilda Jane, will have case studies on our blog. You can get a snapshot of who these individuals are, how they're using data, and they expand upon all of those. And we also have awesome customer case studies we've done with other customers such as Shinesty. Shout out to Bob, who's I see on the line. And also we have some videos that are coming up. So we'll have some video case studies as well. So we would love for you to connect with us on social media, on our blog, and of course, you're already on our email chain if you are on this webinar. So thank you. I appreciate everyone's time. And again, we'll be sharing the recording of this webinar in the next few days. And again, thank you to our panel. And thanks again.